Hi, and welcome to Zovena. Today, I want to tell a story about Okro, the battle of the pot. Among three chefs, Auntie Nene, Tunde, and Chef Bella. Now, in the village, there is this competition they always do every year, and it's called the Okro Cook-Off, whereby contestants will come in a fierce way to contest for the best cook. So that particular year, the food to be cooked was okra, or the soup they decided to cook in that competition was okra. Now, Auntie Nene, who is one of the contestants, likes a lot of pepper in her soup, and she has this temper when it comes to cooking. Uncle Tude, at the other hand, is a bit laid back and is not so fierce when it comes to cooking. But there's one thing about him, he's so obsessed with meat. Then, Chef Bella is a wild card. She can eat anything. In fact, there is a slogan that is very that she often says, if it fits in the pot, it belongs in the stew. So, on this fateful day, the competition took off, whereby all the villagers came to the village square. Everyone was ready to see who will make the best okra soup. The rules were this: add meat, fish, chicken, and okra to the pot. The rest of the ingredients is up to them. So they began. Nene started cooking with a giant grin on her face, holding a massive basket of okra in her hand and a wooden spoon in the other. Ah, today not today. I go win this competition, she said. She put all the okra inside the pot. She then threw in the beef, the chicken, the fish, and everything she could find in the market that she thought is best for the soup. The pot had everything: meat, fish, chicken, goat, and even snail. Some people shouted in the crowd, "Ah, snail!" Do you know what she did? She replied them and said, "Yes, snail." She said, "Why not? I will add more snails." Then she added, "Remember, I said she's a very fierce cook." So she kept cooking and she kept stirring her soup furiously. While she was stirring her soup, mistakenly, one of the fish flew across the room out of the pot in the process of stirring and landed on her contestant's heart, which is Mr. Tunde. Mr. Tunde was just on his own, busy arranging his chicken and every other thing he needs to make his soup. So he told her and said, "Why did you throw the fish from your pot of soup on my heart?" Nene laughed. She said, "I'm cooking up a storm here." Then she added, "I'm going to even add a handful of dried pepper. This stew is going to knock off your heart." Funny, right? As Auntie Nene kept cooking, her pot started to groan. We all know how okra rises, right? It started rising and rising. And then she was even happy and making some sound, believing that her soup is coming out the best. Meanwhile, Mr. Tude, on the other hand, with his okra stew, was preparing it with great seriousness. He had one goal, and what was it? To use every kind of meat available in the village. So far, he had added beef, lamb, chicken, and a giant turkey, drumstick, and looked suspiciously like it came from a very angry bird. You can never have too much meat. Remember, I told you at the beginning that Mr. Tunde is a meat lover. Mr. Tunde muttered, tossing in a whole pig ear just to be sure the crowd stayed, unsure of whether to laugh or run for their lives. Suddenly, the pot let out a mighty sizzle, and then, boom! A chunk of chicken rocketed out of the pot and smacked Chef Bella in the face. Wow. Now it's Chef Bella's turn. Chef Bella stood there, chicken dripping from her cheek. The chicken that flew from the pot of Mr. Tunde, dripping from her cheek. Blinking in disbelief, she raised an eyebrow and said, "Is this what you call a stew, Tunde? More like a meat explosion." Mr. Tunde looked at his pot, which was now bubbling like an overworked volcano. "Don't worry, it's just getting started. This stew gonna be so meaty, you will think you are eating a steak dinner." Now it was time for Chef Bella, the wild fusion chef, who had a very different approach. She wasn't just adding meat, fish, and chicken. Oh no, she was going to take okra stew to a whole new level. Chef Bella started with the basics: okra, chicken, fish, and wait for it, pasta. You don't hear of that one before. The thing surprised me. Oh. Pasta in okra. Everybody shouted. The crowd stared. Did she just put spaghetti in her okra stew? But Chef Bella wasn't done. She poured in generous amount of coconut milk. Then she turned to her side and grabbed a jar of pickled onions. "It's about balance," she said confidently, dropping in a handful of pickled onions. "Balance? With pasta and pickled onions?" Auntie Nene said, "Are you trying to start a food revolution or a disaster?" Chef Bella winkled. "It's called fusion, darling." She stirred the pot with an artistic flourish, as if she were painting a masterpiece. As the okra cooked, a strange aroma through the air, a mixture of fish, chicken, okra, coconut milk, pickled onions, and pasta. "Does anyone else smell that?" Li Wei, one of the village food critics, whispered to his friend. "I think that's the scent of confusion," his friend replied. Can you imagine that? A scent of confusion. As the cooking time ticked on, the three competitors looked at each other, realizing that their pots were about to explode from all the chaos inside. Auntie Nene's pot was bubbling over. Uncle Tunde's meat-filled concussion had reached a boil so furious it looked like a scene from Jaws. And Chef Bella's fusion stew had begun to emit a strange steam cloud. And then it happened. The pot started to rumble. Auntie Nene's pot, okra flying in all directions, causing chaos. The giant turkey drumstick from Mr. Tunde's pot flew out and knocked over Bella's pot, which exploded into a pile of pasta, pickled onions, and okra slime. Ah, now wow! Everyone shouted, hiding for cover, ducking for cover, as okra, meat, fish, chicken, and pasta flew through the air like food fight gone wrong. In the end, the judge could hardly decide who the winner was. Auntie Nene's stew was well slightly too peppery. Uncle Tunde's stew was more like a meat factory. The chef Bella stew, it was so confusing that they didn't know whether to eat or submit it to a science lab. The villagers, however, didn't care about who won. They just sat down and ate the mess of ingredients, laughing all the while. Next year, Chef Bella said, I am adding a whole crocodile. Can you imagine that? Licking some okra off her spoon. I am adding pineapple. Oh, Uncle Tude, wiping turkey off his face, said, how about just meat next time? They all burst out laughing, knowing that when it came to okra, it was the chaos that made it the best stew of all time. I hope you guys enjoyed my story. Please subscribe to my channel and I'll see you in my next video. Like, share, and make a comment. Bye. Go get some okra today. It's healthy for you.